What's up, y'all? My name's Sean. I go by Taylor Exchange on YouTube, and I buy and sell clothes on eBay for a living. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I hired my first employee on Indeed and was able to get them to work for me within 24 hours. If you clicked on this video, you're a pretty smart person. That means you're probably making enough money in order to hire some help to make more money, or you're working for somebody who makes a lot of money who is tasked with having to find somebody to work for on Indeed. Indeed is a very simple website to use, and I think you're going to have no problem figuring out how to use it. For me though, I had a lot of problems. The first problem was I didn't know how to create a job listing. When it comes to creating a job listing, I decided to just look at other job postings that were similar to mine and just copy what I thought was good from them and kind of morph it to fit what I needed for my job. One thing that I decided to do was to list my job as an eBay photographer and lister. Now, Indeed did not like this title, and I will get to that a little bit later as to why they didn't. For your job title, you want to have the tasks that they're doing. If you think about it, if you were applying to be a firefighter, you would assume that the job that you would be doing was fighting fires. Now, there's definitely a lot of other tasks involved, but that is one of the main tasks involved with applying for that job in particular. For my job, taking photos of clothes and posting them to the website or listing them is exactly what they're going to be doing. Now, they'll also be storing them in inventory, and they possibly will be shipping items. I added those in a section called additional task. I wanted the main task to correlate with the title so that the applicant knew what they were getting into. The next most important thing I think that comes with the job listing is the pay and the hours. Pay and the hours are so critical to people nowadays because some people have multiple jobs and they have kids and they have activities and they have responsibilities and different things that they're tied to. So you need to very clearly state what your jobs are. It would be tough to hire somebody if you said my jobs are whenever I need you. They would have no structure and they would have no idea when you needed them to work. So I was very specific with mine. It was 3 days a week, Monday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. because I can only hire a limited window of hours, but I wanted to make sure that was in the posting so that whoever was coming knew for a matter of fact that they would not be working any hours past that or any hours less than that. The last section of my job listing, I decided to put some business policies. My business policies were pretty straightforward. It was to show up on time, to dress appropriate, and to limit the phone use unless it was an emergency. Okay, now that you have your rough draft of your job listing kind of written out, you can move to the website of Indeed itself and start the profile and start the job posting. You're going to have to create a username and password like many websites now on Indeed. And if you want to change your password, they don't have a place you can change it on the website. You actually have to call somebody and get them to send you the link to change it. The good thing about Indeed is it is a massive company, and every time that I called for help, they were able to answer within a few minutes. The Indeed workers were really professional, and they helped me through all the issues I had. When I initially listed my job, I had eBay photographer and lister as the title, and when I decided to launch the job, eBay was flagged because I'm not eBay. I'm just a guy that sells on eBay, so the job never got posted. I had to call and have them explain to me what the issue was, and when I made my edits to the job posting and tried to relaunch it, it still didn't work. I had to call back, and they suggested that I actually make a new job listing and have the correct title in it. Luckily, Indeed has a feature where if you create an entire job listing and you accidentally delete it, you can do a duplicate off of that draft because I guess it saves it as it goes, and is a really helpful feature. After you've created your profile, you go to post a job, and then you're going to have to fill out your job title, which mine was changed to clothing photographer and lister, and then you fill out your job details, which include the pay and the hours, and then you also have to fill out the job description, which is much of what we talked about earlier about the title being what the job is as well as the additional tasks that the person may do. There's also a section where you can request them to submit a resume. I highly recommend you having them submit a resume. This basically is like a key factor in deciding who to hire. It can tell you a lot about a person, whether or not they fill out a resume, whether or not they have a lot of different jobs, or they've worked in one job for a long time. You can kind of gauge how old the person is based on when they graduated high school or when they went to college. And these are all key factors that will help you get the best applicant for the job. I had a really good time with Indeed because after getting my job corrected and not flagged and posted, I was able to see the applicants come in one after another. I ended up having 5 applicants in about 4 hours time on the site, and I was able to schedule an interview with one of them who I thought was going to be the best worker for the job. One thing I would recommend as well is checking the Facebook of the employee that you're hiring. You can get a really good insight into what type of person they are. If they post a lot of like angry and negative things on their Facebook, there's a chance that they're just carrying a lot of that negative energy with them, and that may be somebody you want to avoid. Also, if you see somebody who posts all the time, then that kind of means they post all the time and probably don't stay focused on the tasks that they need to complete. So that could also be like another telltale sign that this person may be too glued to their phone, which would not be good if in the work environment. One thing to look out for on Indeed before making the actual job post is Indeed will try to get you to pay for promoted traffic. Now, you may think this is very important to do, but in the end, Indeed still has to make the post, and then they have to show it to somebody because they need you to trust them that they actually work. If you were to promote the site, I think they were charging $15 per applicant that reached based on that traffic. I'm not sure exactly what the details are, but what I am sure about is you need to look carefully when you're going through the site so that you accidentally misclick and post the job with the added traffic. I did fine with my traffic, but I think a lot of that came down to the price that I hired the person at, as well as like the clarity of the title. And another thing also is the title is clothing photographer and lister. I think that's kind of appealing because a lot of the jobs in that price range that I hired were for like your standard jobs that have like elaborate titles, which you know are ultimately like store associates or things like that. You don't have to get too creative and fancy with your title. You want it to be, similar to what you're doing. I just think my job was different enough in this area that people were interested in it and started applying quickly. One thing I thought was interesting before I made the job listing was you actually have to call Indeed, and they kind of have to screen you to make sure that you are actually you and not somebody like trying to abuse their website. I thought this was very interesting, and it was very straightforward. They were very professional, and it was very easy to do. I had no problem with this at all. One thing that did get a little bit annoying, after I had already set up an interview with the person who I had hoped to hire, Indeed continues to send me like update emails about the other applicants who I had not decided to hire, because they're constantly wanting you to get back on their site and probably click into more of their features and just use their site altogether. It seems like all these businesses, whether it's websites or TV, want to like garner your attention and try to get your eyes on what they're doing, much like this YouTube video is for me to you, but they don't provide as much value. So after I had already made my hire, I needed to close out the job posting. I decided just to cancel the job posting because until I have to hire somebody else, I may make some edits to the post, or if the person working for me ends up moving on, I can always recover that same job posting and just launch it again. All in all, I had a really good time using Indeed. I think it's a tool that everybody should use. I don't think you need to promote your job unless possibly you have a lot of competition for the same type of worker. And for this, I mean, if I owned a restaurant and needed to hire some like servers to work that restaurant, and there were a lot of other restaurants hiring, maybe you would want to promote your job so that it could get higher up on the search. But ultimately, I think if you have a unique job, competitive pay, competitive hours, I think you'll be able to find plenty of people are out there searching for those types of jobs, and they're willing to work for you.